Hi guys, it's Carl Ellis here from The Voice of Healing. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I'm so grateful for this day. You know, it's really a day that was never promised. And the truth is, we should be grateful. Now, why should we be grateful? So, I've heard things on the news about various activities that has been going on in all around the world. For example, Iran, and just the devastation that's going on there. Um, that's one reason to be grateful that we're not in a war zone at the moment. Just to be grateful that you're healthy. We had a loss of a dear relative who passed, and we were there and we experienced the whole situation, the whole feeling of seeing someone you've loved for so many years just drift into the other dimension. And so, as we all know, death is a part of life. But certainly when you see it to a loved one, it's never ever easy. Why am I grateful? Well, my children are healthy. The children are blessed. We are, in a house where we're covered, from the elements of the weather and things of that nature. And so just really being grateful for me is seeing the things that others may perhaps deem as mundane, but nevertheless we view it as something that should be praised every single day. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, going to work. Work is a gift. You would only appreciate it if you was not working and you was looking for work. And then you'd think to yourself, okay, well, this is such a great opportunity. This country is so wonderful. It is. We're going through a hard time at the moment, and the people are really having a very hard time. They don't know what's going on. They don't know. People are making decisions for them. Leaders, people who are showing to be untrustworthy, morals not really of a standard that one would like to follow, and they're becoming suspicious. Is this really our leader? And thank God for the internet. Many see it as a blessing, because then it's peeling off the scales of our eyes that we can actually see what is actually going on. Our leaders that we look up to, that we expect a certain kind of reverence and professionalism and honesty and a good heart. And a lot of the times we are actually being shown that that's not the case, that in fact it's the opposite. A lot of them are untrustworthy. We don't know whether they're telling the truth. We don't know whether there's a financial, benefit to what they're saying. For us, transparency. We're looking for transparency. Taxes, we pay taxes like you can't imagine. So many people are going through a hard time. Homes, food on the shelf is so expensive. Inflation's high. There are not so many good prospects, leaders that you expect to lead you. Found out that they're somewhat betraying you. But you know what? Outside all of that, there's this thing called life. And even though some may say, yeah, well, it's not a great life, we're just surviving, you have life and you have the ability to create. So I remember I had a pastor, and we used to talk sometimes. And he would then say to me, how you feel? I said, oh, yeah, I'd be complaining about this in the church. I'd be complaining about that in the church. And then he said, well, hold on. He says, if you see a need, why don't you fill it? If you see a need, fill the need. Don't complain about it. See the need and start devising, start creating stuff. And this is what the voice of healing really truly is about finding your creative juices, finding the gift, that thing that you have that can eventually take you from rags to riches. Finding that gift that you will love life, that you will appreciate life, that you will look back and say, "Oh my God, I did that. I did that. Me, little old me, who I thought nobody paid attention to. I did that." And so, having these creative elements within all of us. We all have these creative elements, and it's important in the voice of healing that we bring that to you so you see the potential gift and power that you have. You know, living in a world where, you know, there's so much that we can see that there needs to be done. We can fill that hole and by being creative. And effectively, I'd love to ask you to join me on the Voice of Healing podcast. For this Voice of Healing podcast, we will be interviewing within this year a plethora of different people, different professions, you know, finding out about their perspective on this world or in this country. We never can put ourselves into someone else's shoes because we don't know exactly what they're thinking and feeling. We don't know their background, we don't know their history. People see things completely different, to what I do, right? So we will be having some interviews with some wonderful people, some professional people as well, dealing with mental health, you know, lawyers also from other countries as well that we'll be talking to. Be doing a little bit of English and German, some doctors as well, and people who are professional people, even just down to the if you like, layman, or the people who, you know, do everyday jobs that people would somewhat seem, you know, unnecessary, but if it didn't work, you'd be in trouble. So we will be so happy to have you guys with us on this Voice of Healing podcast. You can also join us on Linktree. I don't have a sign. I'm here on my own at the moment. Linktree/Carla Bellis. And it's so important to be able to bring people together. We deal with mental health as well with a lot of men. We had some wonderful interviews, some amazing interviews with some people. And you get to know the perspective of somebody else. And of course, it's faith-based, you know, because we believe that this is a faith-based country, a very accommodating country, a very warm country. In the very essence, it's warm. They are welcoming, in a sense that this is the country as a whole. The feel I get. There are other countries you may go to that you immediately, if you have a spirit of discernment like I do, you will sense that little bit of hostility, you know. But in the UK, it's slowly, you know, people are becoming a bit irate with all the things that are going on at the moment. But we are very humble people, very humble and accommodating to a degree, though. And I feel that, you know, the government, who is supposedly supposed to be looking after us, you know, in different sectors as it pertains to us living, you know, shopping, health, the NHS, you know, the auto industry, you know, jobs, employment, which is accelerated, you know, to an extremely high rate. A lot of people are out of work, a lot of men, and that causes depression, sadness, you know, not knowing your future. And so if we can offer a little bit of respite from all of that, and I'd love to invite you to join the Voice of Healing, myself, Carl Ellis. And we've got so many things happening this year. We're excited to invite you. We'd love to have you on board to support us in any way as well. We always need support. As you know, I'm a few-man show. But I want to take this opportunity to wish you a wonderful Sunday. Be blessed, and we will see you soon. Take care. Yours, Carl.